Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Well, hello, my fellow Trekkers of the Code 47 podcast on the Secret.Friends.Unite podcasting network. This is your Trek Lord of West Michigan, Charlie Carden, coming at you with something a little different, second annual, not the regular episode. We took a bye week, as we talked about last time, because I am on here with my lovely wife, April. April, say hello.
Hello.
In case this is not it. Sometimes the video takes a while to catch up. So anyway, you're hearing us on audio. But it's our second annual kind of brief, free-form, unstructured chat about the Star Trek cruise, which we just returned from on Friday. We're recording this on Sunday. So as I'd mentioned, this is our second time doing it. You may or may not have listened to us right around this time last year when we talked about our experience going last year to Los Angeles, then traveling to Mexico. We also did a special after we went to Star Trek Las Vegas. So I kind of drag April in for these, fan-related experiences so that we could talk about them from our perspective and kind of give you the couple's take anyway. So, all right. So this was a change of scenery going down to this cruise versus the one last year. And it's the usual port of call. This was cruise number 7. So cruise number 6 was the first time they took it out of launching from somewhere in Florida, which is what they did this year. So on Wednesday of last week, the week before last.
Yeah.
We flew very late. we also had a fair bit of learning when it came to air travel in a certain airline, which shall remain nameless, because you never know. You never know who's going to hear this, and could someday maybe an airline wants to sponsor us, and let's just say it's this airline. But I know April handles all of travel arrangements in our family. She handles the bills. She handles it. I'm just a freewheeling weirdo. You guys know that from listening to me. April is the practical one. She does all the real work, and I'm just kind of a 24/7 goofball. But yeah, we got down there. It was awfully late. We flew into Orlando International Airport. We had to take over an hour car trip to Port Canaveral, which is obviously on the Atlantic Ocean, where the boat was leaving from. So we got an Uber, and we were obviously both in the back seat. I slept almost the entire way. And we arrived at this hotel and got checked in and got into this room. It was the official cruise hotel, which April picked because it was a free ride then to the port the next day. But it was like 2:00 in the morning when we finally crashed down. But anyway, got up the next morning, had breakfast at the hotel, saw some familiar faces as far as other cruisers that were going to be joining us. And we got our ride to the port and got on the boat. And what was happening on the boat right when we got there, hon?
Well, they do, because, we were, I would say, one of the first sections, because you have to sign up for different times that you're actually going to get on the boat. And we were one of the first sections to get on. So there are quite a few hours where they're doing this because they do people in stages.
Right.
So right at the beginning, honestly, the first thing we did was go to the buffet.
Yeah. Yeah, we were, because,
Windjammer, you can't go in your room. And
right.
You don't have
your
any
luggage. Yeah.
We didn't prepare ahead of time with our swimsuits and our backpacks like we did the year before because we never used them.
Right. One of the biggest differences going across all of this was the weather.
Yes.
Because, the trip down to, and this was even last year, it was even a week later than it is now, but it was a totally different destination going down to Mexico. There was a lot of rain. There were a lot of cooler days. I wore jeans more than I wore shorts. But
it wasn't a week later.
Yeah. I'm getting my memories from Google Drive, and it was the first week of March, I thought.
Maybe that's when you posted the pictures.
Could have been.
No, because we were there on your birthday.
Oh, we were there on my birthday, which obviously we were. Yeah, we were again. That was Thursday, Feb 23. So that was while we were there, which is cool because one of the guests on the cruise is comedian, actress, and writer Tawny Newsome, who is of course the lead of Star Trek Lower Decks, the animated show, and her birthday is the 24th. So it was great that second night that we were there. We kind of monopolized as far as going to. We went to some of the parties, but we did monopolize doing a lot of trivia and karaoke.
Let's first go through day one.
Absolutely.
Day two. So
absolutely.
Day one. For the first few hours, there's not much to do. You can't get in your stateroom until 2:00. We were on the boat at 11 a.m. So we went to the buffet. We walked around a bit, tried to see if we could see anybody or anyone we knew from last year. And then as soon as we can get in our staterooms, we went into our stateroom. And it was our first year with a balcony, so that we were kind of excited for that.
It was a room that was probably 1.5 times bigger, and it had a balcony which looked out at the ocean, obviously, and yeah, it was fantastic. So we did, and certainly the first part of the trip down there, we were facing east because obviously we were facing west on the way back. So we got to see the sunrise and sit out there, and it took us a couple of days to figure out that we could order a wake up call and coffee. Which we did, I think, 3 or 4 days once we finally figured out there was something to do. So we did that, had coffee and a bagel or whatever, and sat and watched the sunrise. It was pretty fantastic. So, all right.
I'm so glad we figured that out. I can't believe we never did it last year.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
Service is free if you're doing continental breakfast or coffee.
Yeah. So. Good stuff. So, all right. So we're still on day one. What were the activities on day one? There was a party that day, but I feel like we didn't really do much for it.
We did. There was the welcome party with boat launch right on the pool stage.
Yeah,
so that you could watch the boat launch.
And we were sitting in a hot tub when they were rolling people out on stage. Because each one of the guests comes out, and they have maybe 20 guests, I think, and these are actors from all walks of Trek. A few of whom famously defer, had to cancel being there because Strange New Worlds back in production after the end of the writer's strike. So we lost, I think, 3 of those actors plus Jonathan Frakes, which was a bummer. But still, lots of great people on the boat, including some of the interactions that we're going to talk about. So anyway, we're sitting in the pool, we're sitting in the hot tub, watch the people roll out.
Yeah. That was the big thing at first, was just that welcome party. And then obviously we went to the buffet before that.
Right.
That evening, we skipped the welcome show, which was storytelling with Brent and LeVar.
Right.
And we did 2 rounds of trivia. And
yes.
So that was Garrett Wong.
Oh my gosh, that was great.
And Michelle Hurd were the 2. And then
and Michelle was the one that we won because we didn't win Garrett's. Garrett's was Voyager and Michelle's was Picard. And they're both lovely. And I also, I grabbed Garrett again on his, because he was sitting having chit chat with people right in front of we always sat at the same little booth right by the stage. And so we happened to catch a lot of people doing that. I gave Garrett my card again and he wrote down on it. I said, I'd love to talk to you, maybe have him on this show or SFU or the Patreon or something. So I'm not holding my breath. But who knows? So that was fun. So then we spend the first 2 full days at sea because our first destination was we went to the ABC Islands. Well, we went to the A and the C, but not the B. So the ABC Islands are at the very southern portion of the Caribbean area, the Caribbean Sea. And so that would be Aruba, Bonaire, which we didn't go to, and Curacao, which starts with C. And so we spent the first 2 days getting there and 3 days getting there exactly. And we actually decided, and this was all driven by April, to participate in doing some actual non-Star Trek related cosplay, with some of the theme nights. So that first theme night that we did, that was a salute to sci-fi. And we did a trivia that night as well. That was the 2, yeah. So we did Han and Leia from The Force Awakens. I realized I hadn't put on this particular pair of Han pants in a long time, and they were maybe not as comfortable as I remembered. That's just getting older. But we still managed to pull it off. April, you had a new, you ordered a Leia jumpsuit, custom, which never comes custom. So you swapped it out with something else, but the vest worked, and and everything else
I don't
played
know
off. Yeah.
if when they take your height, they assume that your waist. I don't know. There wasn't enough room between my neck and my
You're
groin area. There was
Oh
not
boy.
enough room.
Oh my, yeah.
I was if I was a super short person, maybe, but
Yeah,
there was
right.
not enough room.
Gotcha.
So
But we
I
just
thought, Dickies.
Yeah, we just did it for walking around, and we participated. There was a sci-fi trivia in one of the bars that we teamed up with some people a couple times. We didn't win, but we still had fun. That's what the trivia is all about. Though we did end up winning trivia a couple times.
Yeah. Before that, there was a T-shirt party with Chase Masterson, and that was free drinks.
Yes.
Which weren't great drinks, to be honest.
And that's why they kept
terrible drinks.
They kept giving them to you. And it was during that party we actually connected with you see a lot of people that you meet being part of different face groups and stuff. So I connected with a couple of cosplayers and folks that I know from the Washington D.C. area that I never met in person, and we all became pals. We hung out several times and had a lot of chats. But yeah, we were that was nice to make those connections too. And again, as I was saying, it was bright sunshine the entire time. Really, there was just a handful of portions when the wind would pick up, but there was no rain. There was no rain the whole time that we were doing that. So, all right, so we're it's 2.5 days or two little plus days, and we finally get to Curacao. So that's our first stop. But okay,
I'm still on day 2.
All right. Well, you talk and I'll sip water.
Panel.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the next gen panel.
Yep.
And we also did, like you said, we did the sci-fi trivia, which we didn't do so great at, and Tawny Newsom's bad bitch birthday party.
Yes. That was right after one of the trivias that we did do good at, I think. Yeah. And that was cool. And yeah, like I said, her birthday's the day after mine. So she was like, who else has got a birthday? And I said, and you called me out. And I was like, I do. She's like, hey, I remember you guys. Happy birthday. And then we left because I'm like, you know what? That's good enough. I'm good. Because it was late and she was having a party until 2 a.m. Yeah, that was enough for me.
We weren't staying up. There was one night that we stayed up late. But
yeah.
Just that one night.
I get it.
So then day 3 was the masquerade formal was the theme. And
right.
We didn't really do a whole lot with that. Like we wore the jackets.
Yeah. We had 2 Star Trek cosplays. On the first day was we had a comped photo session or photo with the Crushers because Gates McFadden and Ed Spaliers, Jack Crusher from Picard, and then Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher. We're all on the cruise together, and if you had attended last year, they camped you this photo. So we wore our Picard little field jackets, which is one of the most popular cosplays around I see these days, because it's so simple. It's just a jacket and black pants, and anybody can pull it off. So we did that, and then, the other one was our Star Trek 3, Star Trek 5 bomber jackets, which people were kind of all over us about that. All over me. I don't know why they wouldn't be all over you. You're a pretty girl. I'm a big dopey looking idiot, but people just want to talk to me about it. So I had a lot of people say, oh my God, those are so great. And it's, one of those things they always say about wearing cosplay. It's always better to look good than to feel good, because that jacket is suede and the undershirt has a ribbed collar and it's long sleeved and you're wearing the slacks and boots. So it was plenty hot, but again, we looked good. And it was, like I said, that's where you take it, is you're looking good instead of feeling good. All right. So what happened? Yeah.
Day 3, we definitely spent a little bit more time in our room, and I think it's because we just needed to relax because we'd had some late nights and we're old. We needed to chill out. So we watched a couple things. They do simulcast some things into the rooms, so you can watch from your room. Yeah. We did that with part of the Bombastic Afternoon with Walter Koenig, and then also and he's just an old man who walks around.
Yeah, I mean,
he's walking back and forth, pacing.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind he's one of the 3 surviving members of the original cast, and and of course, when you're in the room, what's nice is that they have closed circuit TV of several stations that are rotating through different Star Trek shows, so you can just sit and catch an episode or something, and that's fine for decompressing.
Or you can watch something that's being simulcast.
Or you can watch something that's being simulcast, exactly.
And then that's the evening that we did the renewal of the vows again.
Yes. Yeah. Now, last year, John Billingsley, who's Dr. Flox from Enterprise, who I had interviewed with my team a few months prior, or a few weeks prior to that, had to cancel. He had COVID, or his wife had COVID, something like that. So Todd Stashwick stepped in, which was our first time meeting him. He's great. Picard was on at the time. This year he was back, and he's a cut up. He's a comedian, kind of a prop comic kind of guy, and he jumped on and did it again. So now we have two, and I think we should start a wall that will have all of those every year we go. But no, that was a lot of fun.
It's super informal. They just do like the whole group at the same time.
Yeah.
It's really just an excuse to get a group photo with somebody.
Right.
It's a group, meaning like you have 100 people in the photo with you.
Right, exactly.
But you also get cake. So
yes, and it was a nice cake. It was a Jello something or other. I don't know. It was very nice.
It was interesting.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
And that evening, they also had both the improv show and the Spock's Brain script reading.
Right.
Now, Spock's Brain script reading, we watched from our room again.
Right.
But we did watch the improv show with Tawny and Eugene in person, and that was fantastic.
Now, Tawny and Eugene, obviously both voice actors who are on Lower Decks, come from that world. Tawny was at Second City in Chicago. Eugene was with the Upright Citizens Brigade in New York City. And we got to spend, we talked to Tawny probably a little bit more last year than we did this year. But Eugene, I felt like we bumped into him a bunch. We didn't bump into him as much as we bumped into Anthony Rapp, which was like 5 or 6 times. You turn around and there was Anthony Rapp. It was kind of crazy. But Eugene was super cool, and he was one of the trivias that we won was his. So that was pretty cool.
And he appreciated your tattoos because he's in all of the.
Yes, yeah, we were on the pool deck, and and I was wrapped in a towel, but didn't have my shirt on, and I have some smaller tattoos on my shoulders. And he said, "I dig your tattoos." And the cool thing is, I'm in all of them because there was represented Star Wars, Star Trek, and Marvel, and I had to stop and think for a while that he wasn't an episode of The Mandalorian, but he was wearing a goofy wig, so that's why I just didn't think of him. But yeah, he seems like a super nice guy.
Okay, so then day 3, or day 4,
Yes,
day 4 is when
Curacao.
we went to Curacao, but we didn't get there until like noon.
Right.
So we did spend the morning doing a couple of things. We skipped the Enterprise panel. Maybe we really didn't do much before we went to Curacao.
Probably not,
because we skipped yoga.
Well, and again, yeah, it's it's a bit when you do, this was our first expeditizing, going on excursions. I don't always gonna say expedition, because last year there were 3 stops. The first one you had to take a tender from the boat, which we didn't want to do. In one of them, we got off and did a self-guided walk to the top of a big hill. Yay. And then
a natural lighthouse.
It was a natural lighthouse. And then the third one, April needed eye drops, and we walked off the boat to a Mexican Walmart.
We went to Walmart
and got the eye drops. So yeah,
we also bought some clothes.
We did. Yeah, I needed some like undershirts, and I bought an action figure, I think, because I thought, hey, it'd be fun to buy an action figure in Mexico. But anyway, this time at both of the stops, we went on honest to God excursion. So we're in Curacao, and we had a super fun tour guide on the bus who is, well versed in all the everything about the island, which of course we don't know a ton about. But they drive us to some natural cave formations, and that's fun. There's some people on the bus with us that we had chatted with on the boat. One of whom was, I kid you not, stand behind somebody who is a bartender at a bar in my hometown of Grosse Pointe, Michigan, which was the bar that my parents went to 50 years ago when they were married, and that I probably took my first illegal drink in. I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to give free publicity or get the wrong notion out there. But and she knew my uncle too, so we had that to chat about. So it's just people you meet on the other damn side of the world. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's weird. So yeah, so it was the caves in Curacao, and the beach. They took us to a beach.
And we had a nice meal.
Yeah, kind
of. Wasn't great, but the meal was good.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So that was cool. And then when we got back on the boat, I don't know that we did much.
I think the thing that was happening was the Star Trek Squares game show, and I think we just watched that from our room again.
We did. We were pretty wiped. Yeah.
We missed the Crusher Family Comedy Hour, which I hear was
It was
must see.
It was a big mistake. Big mistake. Now, I don't know if that happened when we were off the boat. Did it happen when we were off the boat?
No, it did not happen. We were back on the boat.
Shame
and
on
then
us.
There was the Return to Ryza party because the theme for that day was Ryza. And we did go to the Interstellar Improv overdub with Denise Crosby. And
right.
That ended at midnight.
Right. And that was a big hit last year. And we had better seats this time. But yeah, that's just, and again, it was funny. It was another episode from the third season of the original show. This time it was Whom Gods Destroy, which was with Yvonne Craig and the Insane Asylum. Yeah. And they did a great job. It was a lot of fun.
The previous one was a script reading. So they're actually reading the script.
Spock's brain. Yeah. Yeah.
This one, what they do is they turn the sound off completely and they just
rescript it. Yeah, they just rescript it and stuff. So yeah, it was Tawny and Bob Picardo and Denise, and they just it was a really good time.
Todd a drink.
And I bought Todd Stashwick a drink because I was standing around and John Billingsley was like, "Get me a drink" or whatever. And then Todd says, "Get me a whiskey." So I went and got 2 whiskeys and we had a little clink. And I had, because he was reading, but I kind of tapped on the stage and he leaned over and grabbed it and then gave me a clink. Cool guy. He's too cool for me. And ended up seeing him one more time in the boat, but didn't end up, catching up with him again, unfortunately. But, all right, so that's the end of day. We're on day 4. Okay.
Yeah. So day 5 was Aruba, and we got there early in the morning.
Right.
And we had an early morning excursion.
More caves,
less beach.
More caves.
It was mostly caves.
Yeah, the beach was a drive-by, or the big beaches were, but then we saw this kind of craggy, rocky beach, which looked like it could have been a movie set, just a natural, water coming in with the super blue and all the rocks everywhere.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it was all just viewing it. The previous day we were allowed to actually go out there and spend some time in the water and on the beach. This time it was just really quick because we didn't have a lot of time. And then after that,
we were probably wiped out again, even though we were
wiped out again. Yeah.
It was like 1:00 or something. Or maybe 2:00.
No, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
They were doing Dungeons and Dragons. We just saw glimpses of it as we were walking through the promenade.
And we caught the end of it, and who was walking out, and I chatted up about it, Anthony Rapp. Again, what a nice guy. He's so unassuming and so quiet. Yes. It's just he was just a delight.
Yes. Yeah. And goodness. Then there was more trivia.
Right.
One of them with David Ajala.
Right, the Discovery trivia, which we did better than I expected. I thought that we would duff for that one because I'm not the world's biggest Discovery fan, but we still did okay.
And then there was karaoke with Mary Chieffo. Right,
the Klingon karaoke, and that led up to probably the biggest fun that both of us had on that is that after Klingon karaoke, or no, was that the next? Did we go from karaoke right into the thing I'm going to talk about, or was that the next night? No, I can't remember.
I think it was the because it wasn't. We're looking at the main book,
right?
And I honestly think they did because it was Mutiny on the Holodeck was the party.
Right. We were still in
I think they changed the Mutiny after party to the
right. Because there was a passing in the Star Trek family last week. Kenneth Mitchell, who is an actor in several episodes of Discovery early on, was diagnosed with ALS in 2019, which progressed very rapidly. People with ALS don't generally survive between 2 and 4 years. And he passed away last week. And he was very close with a lot of the Discovery people, Mary Chieffo in particular, who was hosting the event that we were at that night. So they had, and this was my first time attending one of these since 1993, a rave in Studio B on the boat, and that's a decent space. But they had a lot of the cast members up on stage, including Tawny and Eugene and Garrett. And Sonequa. I have a Sonequa story to tell you in a little bit. And just a lot of the other people that you saw on the cruise up there dancing and celebrating. And you had DJ Lyra, who was the resident DJ for the whole cruise, playing a mix, including a great bit of audio that was spoken by him and kind of his plans for, his thoughts on life and death and stuff. And just teardrops everywhere. Just such an absolutely emotional deal. And that's that was one of the nights we ended up staying up late because it was just so much going on.
We were there a long time. Apparently he that was something that was his event when he was on the cruise.
Right. Yeah. He was on the cruise, I think, in 2022. Yeah.
His event was a rave party because that's something that he enjoyed. And they were talking about actually, bringing him out and carrying him around the dance floor, and he really enjoyed it. And I was talking to some other people that had been on the year that he had a rave and how much they enjoyed it. So that was just his event. So they brought it back just for him, and they changed plans for that evening. So that was really touching.
Yeah,
memorial.
Big time.
Sure.
So that wrapped up day 5 into day 6. So that meant day 6 and day 7. We're on our way back. Yeah, we're on our way back.
Day 6 we were at sea, and we opted to sleep in, which for us meant I think we slept till 8.
We didn't even get the coffee, yeah. Or we pushed the coffee back.
We pushed coffee back.
But still had it. And it was either, I think it was on day 6 that your tummy took a turn for the worse. The story's going somewhere, and you were napping, and you were like, "Can you go down and try to find me some Tums, or try to or get me a Starbucks or something?" So we were on deck 8. And as it turns out, deck 8 at the end of the hallway has a stage door that goes down to the main stage because the Discovery panel was about to start. My goal, my celebrity interaction, the one that I really want to have, is I wanted to meet Sonequa Martin Green, who's Captain Burnham on Star Trek Discovery, who prior to being on Star Trek was on The Walking Dead, which is a show that April and I absolutely love. On that show, if you're a fan, her death scene is that she sacrifices herself by taking a poison pill to commit suicide while she's riding in a coffin, and she's listening to music on her headphones. And it was when this happened back in 2015, 2016, it played a song, an R&B song. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm a very big aficionado of the soul and the R&B music. That's a big thing for me. And it was an artist I'd never heard of, Donny Hathaway, who I went and turned around and researched, but it was because of that scene that I discovered that. And I wanted to share that story with Sonequa. And 4 or 5 days had gone by, and I had never seen her in the wild, meaning I could stop her and have a conversation with her. I'm going to go down to the promenade deck to the little drugstore that they have there, and I open the door, and I need to go left. But when I look right, there's 2 people coming right at me, and one of them is Sonequa down our hallway outside our door. And I said, "Sonequa." And she turned around, and what a gracious woman. Just didn't even bat an eye. Didn't say, go on, kid, you bother me. I said, "Can I walk with you?" And I don't know where she's going, but I don't care. I tell her the whole story, and we talk a little bit. I said, I'm from Detroit, and I love R&B music and blah, blah. I'd never heard of Donny Hathaway and this thing and that thing. And then we talked about him a little bit. And then we got to the end of it, and I said, excited about Discovery. It comes on my wife's birthday, which is April the 4th. She says, "That's great." And then we're saying goodbye. And it's like, you don't know what these celebrities, kind of what their boundaries are. If they want you to shake their hand or touch them or fist bump, hug, an actual hug. And she has such soft hair. She's got those beautiful long braids. That was the thing I noticed. That was the first, but not the last interaction. But that made my cruise. That was the one that I wanted. I didn't think it was going to happen, and then it happened right outside my door. So I was blown away. And what a just wonderful, gracious, super cool human being. That was fantastic. But to put a pin in the story, April's stomach did eventually end up feeling better, and so we got to move on and do more stuff. So we're on the way back. What other things did we tackle on days 6 and 7 before we finally got back to Florida?
There's the Picard panel that we saw.
Okay, that was great. I managed to get a question in on most of the panels I went to. So I had the first question on the Picard panel, and I think I asked something like, and it even got a mention on I think on Trek Movie, one of the Trek sites. I asked the question to the cast. I said, "What's a little detail that you noticed about that completely rebuilt Enterprise D bridge?" Because I think it was funny, but Brent Spiner is obviously the joker of that group. So I say, hey, I have a question for the whole panel. He says, I'll take this one without me saying anything more. But that's fun. I love doing that. Yeah, the panels are fun, and I always think of something to say. So,
and then we saw Script Secrets with Lolita.
Mm-hmm. Got to chat with her a bit. Her company hosts some of the guests that we have had and will be having at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con, which is the big show that we work. So that was kind of cool.
And it was the costume party night, but also the Strange New Duets was the big event for the evening.
And we were having laughs. And we got our picture because we were wearing, we got our picture taken in our pirate outfits, but that was the night of the rave, I think.
It was when we were at Eugene and Tawny's thing, I think, is when the
must have been. Taken. You see,
I was laughing.
It all blurs so much, but yes. Okay.
We did attempt to enter the costume contest.
Right. We were Captain Peggy, which is It's obviously very Bush League. Yeah.
They loved seeing my.
Yes, you got a lot of recognition, particularly because on this cruise, you have a larger international component of people. So you get people from England and you get people from overseas. But me dressed as Captain America, a lot of the stewards and service people who are from a lot of Asian countries. You got a lot of Filipino, Japanese people, Indian people. Everybody loves Captain America apparently because Captain America more so than the Star Trek stuff.
Star Trek, yeah.
That's okay.
Star Trek.
That's okay. Yeah. That's all right. All right. So what? Anything else happened on the boat that really blew your mind? So we're getting back to Florida. We did another trivia. Day 7. All right.
There's still more things.
Okay.
On day 7. Day 7 was honestly that's the Discovery panel. So we did go to that.
Okay.
And I thought that was nice. I enjoyed listening to that. We spent time at the pool.
Nothing wrong with that.
And the Gong Show was the other thing.
Yeah, the Gong Show. That was the one that last year I got up on stage. I was part of it because they asked for a volunteer, and I always volunteer. And this one, like you said, the kind of the bummer about this Gong Show is that there were like there were 5 or 6 acts, and there was only 2 gongs. So there were 2 people who sang opera, and there were a couple of other singers, and there was a guy who was doing stand up. And I think it ended in a tie. One of the singers, and then the stand up guy.
And they said it was the first time that they'd had a stand-up comedian who wasn't gonged. Because usually they're terrible.
Didn't bomb. Yeah, no, he was good. He did some.
And we decided that we're gonna try to enter next year, so we have some stuff. To practice. So
yes.
Not next year. 2 years. 2 years.
2 years. Yes, 2 years. We were actually not planning to go back next year. We actually have a different vacation that we want to do. But I had some thoughts on what the cruise might look like in the next couple of years, but I'll elucidate on that in a little bit. So, okay.
And then we skipped the variety show, which was the actual stars doing basically what Gong Show is. Right. We skipped that because we had 2
back-to-back trivias, one of which we won. We lost the we won the first one, which was with Eugene, which is great. I'm a big fan of Eugene's now, and got to chit chat with him a little bit, and of course we got a photo with him as well. And then the second one was with Gabrielle Ruiz, who is the voice of T'Lyn, one of the newer characters on Star Trek Lower Decks. And it was funny when she walked in, because again we're sitting at this. It's kind of a rectangular room, and we're sitting stage left at this little booth, and she walks down, and Ashley, who's actually one of the morale officers, one of the cruise people who runs it, and she knows us by name and we know her, had stepped away for a moment, and I don't think she knew what was going on, so she just popped over and chatted me up for like 5 minutes. And I started talking to her about my podcast. She talked to me about her podcast. I was asking her, she had a baby several weeks ago. We were talking about that. She was, talking about living in New York City because that's where her husband's family is. So free childcare and blah, blah. She was just super duper nice. And that was awesome. We didn't win that trivia, but it was a pleasure to chat with her. But we did pretty well on all the trivias.
We did, and we won twice, which I think is fair. That's what we won last year as well. So that just means the next cruise we go on, we have to try to beat our record.
Exactly. Yeah, it would not have helped to slip. And then we went to 3 karaokes. Our song never got called, and I had a strategy because April agreed to go along with it. But I picked a song that was almost like a nursery rhyme. I picked Elton John and the Kiki D's "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," which is just a very easy, like not very like challenging song vocally. And we sat through 3 trivias, and the last one was on this evening. It was hosted by Connor Trenier and Anthony Montgomery from Star Trek Enterprise. And it was a 2-hour deal. And we sat there, we were having fun, getting up and dancing. But we get to the last half hour and just like, it's 11:30. We were all packed and everything. We're like good with that, but we're just kind of done. So we give up our seat and we take off. And figuring, we've not missed out on anything. Now, when we get up the next morning and we manage to go to the main dining room because we catch breakfast and we're going to be leaving soon enough, but we're riding from the main dining room back up to our floor on floor 8, and Connor Trenier walks into the elevator at the last time. And I told him the same story. I said, yep, we did, our song never got called. And he was like, what was your song? And I said, he said, what's your name? And I tell him, I said, yeah, I saw you guys sitting there the whole time. We called your name right after you left. I said, look, it's our first duet. And I said, mother effer. I said, I was like, oh my gosh. So shame on us. We could have had our chance, but you know what? We will, we'll put it again when we're back there in 2 years. We will try our luck. So,
yeah.
So anyway, at this point we're getting off the boat, but not before we were either leaving our room to go to breakfast or was probably leaving our room just to leave altogether.
I think we were leaving to leave altogether, yeah.
I opened the door again and looked to my right, and it's Sneakwa and her husband. Her husband was on the cruise with her, and they were leaving too. And I said, Sneakwa, I'd like to introduce you to my wife, April, and blah, blah, blah. Discovery comes on her birthday. And I said, I'm a podcaster. Because I just this week received a screener with the first 4 episodes of season 5. And I said, I'm super excited about that. And then as she was walking away, I said, oh, and the Rick and Michonne Walking Dead show came on. And she said, yo, that's right. I haven't seen that. Denai Guerrero, who started the show, was telling me about that. And I'm like, so what a cool, and as she's walking away. Yes. So I got not one, but 2, great interactions with Sneakwa. She was kind of, I love talking to Eugene, love interacting with Eugene. Couldn't get rid of Anthony Rapp, which is fine because he seems very cool, but Sneakwa made the cruise for myself personally. What about you? Was there another one that a celebrity interact that kind of blew the doors off for you?
I mean, I enjoyed talking to everyone that we spoke to. Everybody they're just normal. They're just normal people, especially the one like Eugene. He just blends in with everybody. Nobody even, especially because he's a voice actor. He's not seen.
Right.
So he could just go out to the pool and nobody would even say anything to him.
Right. Which is where we ran into him.
We ran into him.
Yeah.
Because we recognized him. And who was it that we saw? I don't know. There was an interaction we had with somebody that was funny. I don't remember. No, but it wasn't Brent Spiner. I just walked out of the elevator and walked past him. And you were like, hun, turn around. Look who you just walked by.
Because it was us.
He's just a person.
It was us too.
That's right. I'm just a person.
And Brent Spiner in this bank of elevators, and he turns around and gets onto an elevator, and it's just him. And he says, I'm just a person, and the door's closed.
Yeah. He's just a person.
Yeah, I was bummed. I was bummed out. I didn't get to see LeVar Burton, though. I met him years ago at a show, so it was not that big of a deal.
Yeah, And there were some people who were like, "Oh, we're seeing so many more celebrities." I'm like, "Oh, I saw a lot more last year."
Oh, yeah, I
Last
really
year.
did. I saw, Gates McFadden only because she kind of walked past me, but she's kind of standoffish with people. Will Wheaton has his reasons for kind of being standoffish with people, and that's totally
Oh,
fine.
there
I
was
get
the other
that.
thing we saw one night was Will Wheaton speaking and telling a little bit more of his story, but mostly
Right.
because he was promoting his book. But
Yeah, which is fine.
still,
It's business. It's just business.
yeah, it was still interesting to hear.
Yeah. Not that
Um,
we want to plug Will Wheaton too much because it's not like he's plugging us. But Will,
yeah,
we appreciate your stuff. So, okay, so we are now back in Florida, and the short version of it is we had an adventure the rest of the day. I don't want to drill down on it too much because I'll probably save that chatter for Holocron Chronicles, the Star Wars show that I do with my partner Mark Carabin. But we went to Disney World. I had not been to Disney World since I was 15 years old because my grandparents, who are now gone, were snowbirds. So we went down and spent a Christmas there, and we only went to Epcot Center. You had taken your kids, my stepkids down there probably 15 or 16 years ago for a
yeah,
few days, and you got to see a lot of the park. But that was all before Galaxy's Edge opened. So this was kind of my big birthday present, as I got to go down and kind of see basically Star Wars land. And we got to ride rides. We got to do our own, build our lightsabers, which we now have. So all plastered all over my social media. So
yeah.
if you follow me,
We
you've seen it.
we did mostly focus on Galaxy's Edge. Obviously, there's other rides, there's other pieces of
Yeah.
that park, but we mostly
Right.
focused on Galaxy's Edge.
And let me tell you, there's no greater experience if you haven't experienced it than going to Disney with no children,
Yeah,
because it was great. And we definitely saw a couple or two with their kids that were not having a good time.
yeah.
So
Or
more power to you. Yeah.
the couple sounded like they needed to get a divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh my
And
gosh. But
Doc
anyway,
did a
yeah.
little thing with
We're-
them. It was
yeah,
awesome.
we're just happy as punch, just riding around, and they're like. So anyway, not to drill too much down on that, and then so we closed down the park. We were there for 12 hours, which is crazy. We were there from 9 to 9, and then we drove to a hotel that was near to the airport and got in the room and immediately got into bed, and we're up at 4:30 in the morning, and we were back here in Grand Rapids on Friday at like noon. So the end to our whirlwind trip, that was crazy. And naturally, when you're on a cruise like this, they're like, well, it's best rate if you sign up now, it'll be cheaper and this and that. We sat down with the people and we thought about it, but we've always had this plan, this desire to go to Australia. That's always been a dream of mine. It's something that we've talked about probably almost all the time that we've been together. So in 2025, that's what we're going to do. But we're definitely down for the cruise, definitely down for going back. We kind of picture it as maybe being like a 2-on, 1-off, or maybe a two on, 2-off kind of thing. Who knows what the future will bring? But my looking down, looking in my crystal ball, I feel like, we're skipping 2025. We go back in 2026. 2026 is the 60th anniversary of the franchise. I just get the feeling that the cruise that year could be really packed with the creme de la creme, super top shelf, big stars. That's my thought about 2026. 2027, 40th anniversary of Star Trek The Next Generation, 10th anniversary of Star Trek Discovery. Again, big blowout, could be just top shelf, big super talent. And even if it's, I mean, what shelf is there? I guess I'm kind of talking out two sides of my mouth here, because it's a great time regardless.
Right.
If it's probably sailing, it'll be, they rotate ports around Florida mostly. So we'll be going back to, somewhere in the Caribbean or wherever. And it's just great. It's just great to be at sea and see the boundlessness of the ocean. It's incredible.
Next year does sound exciting.
Right.
It's going to be all Voyager.
30th anniversary of Voyager. Yep.
But there will be other things that happen in the future. It's not like
Right.
we're going to completely miss out just because we don't go 1 year. We
Right.
didn't go for the first
Right.
5 years. So.
And there are people who, their whole, whatever is they do this and they do Star Trek Las Vegas, which, if you listen to us talk about Las Vegas, it wasn't our thing. It's probably not something we're going to do. There's a creation show going on this upcoming weekend in San Francisco. That's something that I might consider doing at some point. But there, We hit, what's that?
If they do it again.
If they do it again. There's a Star Trek show on Long Island in New York. That's something that we're talking about potentially doing, so there are other shows out there. It's just not everything is just the cruise in Vegas. You know what I mean? So there's still opportunities to connect with like-minded fans. So anyway, that is our breakdown of Star Trek The Cruise. Honey, any final thoughts before you give your sign off and tell people where to find you?
If you've ever been curious, I'd look into it because this 2 years in a row, we had fun both times. I feel like both times we had time to settle down and relax and enjoy ourselves. It wasn't just all go, go, go. We of course don't do like the whole autograph and photography lines. So we're not really into that as much, but there's a lot happening. It is 100% different than going to a convention.
Right.
And if you've ever considered it.
Yeah. It's
you can make monthly payments.
It's a worthwhile investment, and they do. It's an investment in yourself, and they do monthly payments. So no, that says it pretty succinctly. So I would say Entertainment Cruise Productions, StarTrekCruise.com. Check it out. I know general booking starts March 12. So if you are interested in the cruise after hearing what I'm saying, 2025 is going to be this big Voyager blowout. They have, I believe, at this point, the entire original cast. Which is amazing because everybody's still alive. Big thumbs up. So I'd highly recommend it. And, if you go and you're listening to our show, maybe we'll interview you next year and you can tell us all about it. So, all right. Well, that wraps up our time. Honey, where do people find you out there?
The April Carden on Instagram.
Very good. And me, as always, I'm over on Instagram and Threads at just C3Carpenter. Spell it out. Sorry, I forget because I'm not an X anymore. I mix up my my thingies. But April and I do actually also run the USS Grand Petoskey, one of the bigger chapters of Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Club. We're based here in West Michigan, but we actually help run 3 other chapters in the state of Michigan. I am the regional coordinator of Region 13, which also extends out to Eastern Canada. So as always, if you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice, want to learn a little bit more about what it's like to be in a fan club with a lot of great perks, sfi.org or grandpetoskey.com. Visit, send us a note, and we're happy to help you out. So goodbye, everybody, and tune back in 2 weeks from now as we resume our normal programming and continue talking about episodes of Star Trek. So keep on trekking, and we'll see you soon.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit SecretFriendsUnite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.